Hello everybody and welcome back to another video and Merry Christmas! It is December 25th as I'm releasing this video, and this is the Christmas special for my channel this year. And once again, thank you guys so much for all your support, and I hope you have a happy holidays. This is going to be a pretty big video because I decided that I want to make my own Iceberg video. Recently I have watched some Iceberg videos and got the idea of making my own. I also had the idea of making my own Windows Phone history video, but so many other YouTubers have already done it, and I think everything has already been said in those. So I decided that this Iceberg will be about Windows Phone, since I could include obscure facts towards the bottom of the list that people might not have known about and those other videos did not touch on. Even I learned some cool things while researching for this video. I tried my best to include everything possible, but if I missed anything, please do let me know in the comments. Now that we've got the introduction out the way, it's time to cut the chase and begin our descent on the Windows Phone iceberg. Tip of the iceberg: Lumia phones. Lumia phones is the most popular choice for a Windows Phone. It was made when Nokia partnered with Microsoft and became the main lineup of Windows Phone devices, and was the one Microsoft pushed the most onto customers. It is also the most common choice nowadays for jailbreaking and usability. Other OEMs. Other OEMs is a term in the Windows Phone community to categorize Windows Phone devices that are not Lumias. A lot of brands, famous and small, participated in making and selling Windows Phones. In my opinion, some of these were very cool looking, like the HTC 8S. Hubs. Hubs is the name of the interface that some of the apps, mostly between Windows Phone 7 and 8.0, that is a collection of different functions all in one app. For example, the People app is a hub that contains your contacts, socials, groups, rooms, etc. It used the iconic swipe UX that made it easy and unique to navigate in, and was very feature-rich. Third-party devs could make hub interfaces in their own apps as well. Metro UI. Metro UI refers to the UI design of Windows Phone 7 to 8.1. It consisted of blocky tiles and buttons, and smooth animations. WindowsPhone.com. WindowsPhone.com was the official website by Microsoft to get all the information about Windows Phone. It also consisted of a store web front to search Windows Phone games and apps, as well as hosting files for tools and services such as phone activation in the store. Fun fact about the activation service: it is actually the real reason why Windows Phone 8.1 cannot sign in anymore. It was found out that it is still possible as of recording this video to sign into the account on an emulator, because it does not have an activation phase, though the real Windows Phone 8.1 devices do, which is why you get stuck at the date and time error as it tries to activate your phone before proceeding to the sign-in page. Just today, as I'm recording this video, there has been some advancements, because me and Andrew, somebody in the Windows 8 group, has managed to fix the phone activation and sign into our Microsoft accounts. By the time this video releases, there may or may not be the tool released. Sooner or later, you guys will get it too. It's really exciting, but that'll get its own video. $7 billion. $7 billion refers to the cost that Microsoft paid to buy Nokia's phone division back in 2014. No upgrades from Windows Mobile 6.5 to Windows Phone 7. This refers to the fact that existing Windows Mobile 6.5 users could not upgrade their existing devices to Windows Phone 7 when it launched. This was due to Microsoft's strict hardware requirements for the phone manufacturers when making Windows Phone 7 devices. No upgrade from Windows Phone 7 to Windows Phone 8. This refers to the fact that existing Windows Phone 7 users could not upgrade their existing Windows Phone 7.5 devices to Windows Phone 8.0. This was due to the fact that the CE kernel, which was used in Windows Phone 7, was changed in Windows Phone 8 to use the NT kernel. Much like the desktop counterparts, Microsoft instead let Windows Phone 7.5 users update to Windows Phone 7.8, which was just Windows Phone 7 with some 8 features backported, as such as the new start screen. iPhone's funeral. This refers to the event that Microsoft held when they launched Windows Phone 7 series that consisted of some employees dressed in black wearing Windows Phone 7 costumes carrying what seemed to be an iPhone 4. $500. $500 refers to the quote by Microsoft former CEO Steve Ballmer, who in an interview about the Zune was asked a question about the first iPhone's release. This is a clip of him, it's from the interview.
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
41 megapixels. 41 megapixels refers to the Nokia Lumia 1020, which was released in 2013 and had a 41 megapixel sensor in their camera. Back then, this was revolutionary and considered one of the best camera phones to buy. It still looks really good today. These are some photos. Astoria. Astoria refers to Project Astoria, which was a project by Microsoft to let devs easily convert their Android apps into Windows Phone apps, essentially being a compatibility layer, which could bring millions of missing apps to Windows 10 Mobile. It was eventually cancelled due to its instability, potential legal issues, and shifting their focus onto other aspects of Windows 10 Mobile's development. Andromeda OS. The Windows Andromeda OS was the cancelled version of Windows meant to ship with the Surface Duo. It was based on Windows Core OS, which was also what Windows 10X was based on. It was an OS that centered around the heavy usage of OneNote and had many elements of Windows 10 Mobile still present. There were still builds available to install on the Lumia 950, and there were also prototypes of the Duo, with Andromeda OS running on them floating around the internet on a Chinese website, but as of writing this script, I cannot find the listing anymore. Continuum. Continuum is a feature in Windows 10 Mobile for the 950 series, though you can get the Miracast version on other 10M devices with some tweaking, that would project your screen onto an external display, turning into essentially a lightweight version of desktop Windows 10. The feature was highly anticipated but under-delivered due to people's high expectations and the limitations of it. Limitations included forced full-screen apps, only being able to use UWP apps and not previous Windows Phone apps or desktop EXEs, and more. Cortana. Cortana is the former virtual assistant by Microsoft whose name and voice was inspired by Cortana from the game Halo, which is another one of Microsoft's IPs. First introduced on the Windows Phone 8.1, she eventually made its way onto Windows 10 platforms including Xbox. She was considered to be the best virtual assistant ever to be released, more intelligent than Siri and Google now. She could do loads of cool and useful things like remind you when to go to a certain place or call or text a certain someone, making her functionality dynamic and actually worth using. I think she's very interesting and deserves her own video. She was eventually killed off in favor of Copilot in 2023. It's not like much people used her anyways after the death of the Windows Phone platform. Her functionality nowadays is limited to offline functions and extremely simple commands. What a shame. Put people first. This quote is from the official slogan for Windows Phone 7.5. XAP, APPX, APPX bundle. These are the three file extensions that refer to the type of app packages that were used on the Windows Phone platform throughout the years. XAP is the file extension for Silverlight apps, while APPX and APPX bundle are the extension for WinRT apps and UWP apps, with the bundle version including multiple architectures. Microsoft YouTube. The Microsoft YouTube app was made for Windows Phone 7 devices as Google refused to contribute to the Windows Phone platform, mainly because they saw Windows Phone as an actual threat to Android. The app had a nicer UI and regular YouTube features that even made it look official. Shortly after it became popular amongst Windows Phone users, Google made Microsoft shut it down or risk a lawsuit. This marked the end of Microsoft's YouTube app and let people either use YouTube in Internet Explorer or use third-party apps made by other devs. Here Suite. The Here suite of apps is a collection of navigation apps. Previously with the name Nokia and only available on Nokia Lumia devices, it was changed to Here and became available on all Windows Phone devices. It was considered the best mobile navigation suite with lots of features that even the competitors didn't have. The Here suite contained Drive, Drive Plus, Maps, and CityLens. Drive was the turn-by-turn navigation app used for driving around, including voice navigation and other standard features, but only let you use it in one country. Drive Plus was a more premium version of Drive and let you use it in multiple countries. Maps was used to check out the map and finding routes and providing tools for devs and to include Here Maps functionality in their own apps. CityLens was a cool AR app that let you show the phone around where you are and it will tell you more information about the location it sees. The Here suite online functions were discontinued on Windows phones a long time back. The offline map service for Windows Phone was taken down in late 2024, marking the end of it. Here does work on iOS and Android via their Here We Go app. MSN apps. The MSN apps were the suite of apps made by Microsoft that focused on topics from the Microsoft network. This included news, weather, sports, money, which was previously finance, travel, health and fitness, and food and drink, most of which were shut down when Windows 8.1's MSN apps were phased out as they shared servers with the phone apps. The apps would show a We've Moved screen which had a different graphic for each app. There is actually a revival for these MSN apps which is called New Retiled, made by Miguel from the Windows 8 group, and it is really interesting and really cool, so I will make a video on that soon as well. Mix Radio. Mix Radio, formerly Nokia Music, was a streaming service app provided by Nokia and later Line Corp. The service was considered to be more superior to other music streaming platforms due to its features and design. It eventually shut down in 2016. Glance. Glance is the feature that came out in 2013 on Windows Phone 8 with the Lumia 925. It's basically an always-on display for most Lumia phones at the time and is only available on Lumia phones that support it. WDRT. WDRT stands for the Windows Device Recovery Tool, which was an app developed by Microsoft as a recovery software that will let you restore Windows Phone devices and HoloLens devices. The download servers for the app eventually shut down in late 2024 due to the discontinuation of both Windows Phone and HoloLens, which included all the files for restoring the devices, leading to the community to scramble and archive them all. WDRT also includes random features such as being able to customize its accent color and light mode. Fun fact, After I wrote the script just recently, there has been a patch for WDRT by Andrew, the same guy who helped fix the MS account server's login issue. So if you want, you can actually go download that right now from the Windows 8 group. It works pretty well. It connects to Lumia DB, which is also like a place where you can get the files. Wedding ad. The wedding ad is probably one of the most famous Windows Phone ads ever to be made. It was made to advertise the Lumia 920's design with the slogan, "Don't fight, switch." It contained a lot of references to other platforms and their users. It's a very funny ad. You can go watch it. Just search it up on YouTube. WP7 series trailer. There's a trailer for Windows Phone which was to promote Windows Phone 7 series before it launched. It first showed app icons in reference to how boring and unproductive iOS and Android can be with their grid layout, and then showed how Windows Phone 7 will be the underdog in changing all that and do it right. It's a really nice ad, and it's another I recommend you watch, so also go search that up. Developer mode. Developer mode was something mainly known in Windows 10 Mobile because it's easy as flipping a toggle in settings, but this existed in previous platforms as well with accounts and developer keys. Those servers and keys are dead now, but the community found other ways to enable developer mode. It is included in the Zapload unlocker when you jailbreak a Windows Phone 8.1 device. Interrupt unlock. Interrupt unlocking is another jailbreaking term for Windows phones, which is another level of unlocking which lets you edit your device registry, manage system apps on 10 Mobile, set defaults on 10 Mobile, and much more. On 8.1, it is also included in the Zapload unlocking process. CMD injecting. CMD injecting is the third layer of jailbreaking Windows phones. Using the tool CMD injector to enable it, you then get access to sideloading 8.1 and below apps on your device due to unlocking the command prompt. CMDI also includes a command prompt interface which you can use. WPI. WPI stands for Windows Phone Internals and is the most popular jailbreak tool used for Lumia, Windows Phone 8.0 and above, for unlocking. The tool helps with functions such as bootloader unlock, root access, backing up eMMC partitions, switching modes, flashing Lumias, and seeing detailed info about a device, and more. It rarely gets updated nowadays, but the developer is allegedly working on a version 3 as I write this video script. WUT. WUT stands for Windows Universal Tool, and it is a tool developed by the Windows 10 Mobile group that aids Windows 10 Mobile users in downloading apps/games from the repo, installing apps from any source using a variety of tools, and more. Lumia WOA. The Lumia Windows on ARM project is a community project that is aimed to bring the Windows 10 and 11 desktop ARM64 operating systems onto the Lumia 950 series lineup. It is a really interesting thing to try out, and I made 2 videos on them. I'll link the first one up in the cards, and you'll be able to see it, as it isn't the most practical thing, but it is not something that dismisses the hard efforts by the community to even get this mostly fully working on their such devices. App gap problem. App gap problem was one of the biggest issues to plague Windows Phone since the beginning. Due to Windows Phone 7 releasing a whopping 3 years later than the iPhone, users were already on Android or iOS and got used to it. Not too keen to switching after leaning to the new touch-only navigation that iPhone popularized, without users, developers would not care to spend their time on making Windows Phone 7 versions of their apps, and without apps, users have no motive to move to the better platform. Even though over time it got better, the issue continues until the end of Windows Phone, with even some of the most popular apps never getting a Windows Phone release. Live Store. Live Store is a third-party app for Windows Phone 8.1 developed by Chris and Kiro. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I also made a separate video reviewing Live Store, so I recommend checking it out. I'll link it up in the cards. Its development history is actually pretty interesting, as it went through a few changes, such as switching from using WinRT to Silverlight and changing the design of the app from the 8.1 store to the 8.0 store. Actually, a lot of cool features on Live Store today weren't even available back then, such as accounts and reviews, the dev portal, webfront, etc. So I think I speak for all Windows Phone users and their community when I say that their voluntary efforts to code all of this has been really cool, and we should thank them more often for it. Below the surface. Specs. Specs is short for bootloader specification. It refers to 2 types of bootloader specs that Lumia devices can have. There's Spec A and Spec B. Each one has different unlocking process. Some people say Spec A's process is easier and more reliable. Spec A also has a not for resale text at the bottom of the screen when unlocked, because unlocking Spec A devices essentially just means flashing an engineering bootloader onto the phone. Spec A is also considered safer due to how it works. Spec A relies on an SOC exploit, while Spec B relies on a buffer overflow exploit in the Lumia flash mode. Spec B is more prone to failure due to it having some bugs, getting stuck in random places, USB 3 issues, etc. There are a few advantages to Spec B over Spec A, such as being able to handle more powerful CPUs, so it's not all that bad, I guess. Samsung eMMC issues. If you have used WPI before and you've noticed it mentions the Lumias with Samsung eMMCs have potential to go into a freakish write-only state that is completely random and cannot be changed without physically flashing the chip using a specialized equipment such as JTAG. It happens mostly on Spec A devices, mainly the 520, 1020, 1320, and with the 520 being the most common occurrences of this issue. Phone VSOD. Since Windows Phone is essentially Windows under the hood, it is possible to get the dreaded blue screen of death on a phone. There are 4 common types of VSODs, one of them being black. The first one is just the blue background with a sad face on it. This usually means that the boot manager cannot be found or is corrupt. Then there's the recovery screen, which indicates that there is an issue with the Windows boot manager. Then there is a black frown with a nose, which means that the update has failed. And there's a detailed full BSOD, which you can enable via registry tweak to show more info when you get a BSOD on a Windows Phone device. Meet ads. The meet ads are ads that would say meet and then the name of someone. Here's an example of a billboard one. There's also some seasonal ones like this Christmas themed one, and a more generic one that is not person specific. Everything is IE/Edge. Everything is IE/Edge refers to the fact that Windows Phone does not like devs to make browser apps that don't rely on MS HTML, Internet Explorer's engine, or Edge HTML, legacy Edge's engine. This is why porting a browser to Windows Phone has been a pretty impossible task so far. There is actually one person who is taking the dreaded task on trying to make a modern browser for Windows Phone 8.1. His name is Zayo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and the browser is MetroSurf. He's currently developing it, and it is going pretty great so far, and it's very impressive, so I recommend you also check that out. Encrypted XAPs. Encrypted XAPs refers to the fact that on Microsoft Store servers they still host almost all the XAPs for Windows Phone, but all of them are encrypted. It was possible to get the unencrypted XAPs using the Microsoft Store on Windows 10 Mobile until it died, which also led to the decryption key servers being taken down, making any unencrypted XAPs not archived being lost media and all XAPs on the servers basically useless until we find a way to decrypt them ourselves, which seems impossible. This is why an app archival for Silverlight apps on Windows Phone is crucial for preserving its history and why the community always checks for data on old Lumias that can be extracted via jailbreak. Nokia Cure Suite. Nokia Cure Suite might not be a stranger to longtime Nokia fans because it was a tool to use to recover Nokia devices before they went into the Windows Phone era. But to Windows Phone users it is less known because it is only used for restoration on Windows Phone 7 Lumias and nothing newer. It was phased out in favor of WDRT. School Play Ad. The School Play Ad is another ad campaign similar to the wedding ad, but it advertised the Lumia 1020 and was set in a school play. It spoke about the 1020 zoom and how 41 megapixels has great quality. It is also funny, so I also say you should go check that out too. 930 buttons falling off. There is a common occurrence on Lumia 930s where the side buttons will wear out and fall off without warning. People usually circumvent this by using some kind of tape to stick the buttons back on or have to replace it with the whole screen because the display is glued to the chassis and, well, is also extremely difficult to separate without breaking it. Lumia McLaren. The Lumia McLaren, also known as the Lumia 1030, is a cancelled Lumia phone that was supposed to be the successor to the 1020. It had crazy 3D touch feature that would detect your hand without even touching the display and would have tiles explode when you hover over a tile for a period of time, which would show extra icons. Michael Fisher has a great video overviewing it and I highly recommend giving it a watch. Lumia 960. The Lumia 960 was supposed to be the successor to the Lumia 950, but then Windows Phone was shutting down and the phone was cancelled. There are images of the phone on the internet of people getting their hands on the prototype. You can see it here, it has an all-metal body, but in my opinion it just looks like another Android phone. The Nokia design was lost when Microsoft took over. Nokia Design and Microsoft Design. These two I have combined because they're related. Nokia Design refers to the style of how they build Lumias and were branded with Nokia on them. You can see here they're colorful and vibrant as well as unique, and they stand out from the competitors' devices. Microsoft Design is how Lumias were styled after the acquisition, as they were more corporate and bland and boring looking, and just looked like another Android instead of something unique. There were a few exceptions, but mostly Lumias decided for 10M or a 10M upgrade take on this new Microsoft design. Islandwood. Islandwood, otherwise known as Project Islandwood, or Windows Bridge for iOS, was a project for Windows 10 Mobile that would allow iOS devs to convert their iOS app source code into a Windows Phone app. The project was not cancelled, unlike Astoria, but nowadays is very updated and won't work with newer iOS apps. Windows Phone app. Not to be confused with me talking about the apps on Windows Phone itself, but it is actually an iTunes-like app for syncing media such as your music, photos, videos, documents, and more onto your Windows Phone device. There's a Win32 app for Windows and a Metro UI app. There was also a Mac app. Battery Saver Heart. The Battery Saver Heart refers to the Windows Phone 7.5 to 8.0's Battery Saver feature, having a heart over the battery icon to indicate it's being saved. I think it's really cute and a shame that it has been replaced by a shield icon in 8.1, but it's not that big of a deal, I guess. Proto.nokia.com and proto.microsoft.com. Once again, I combined two entries into one thing because they're so similar. These two URLs were to be printed on prototypes and intend to get people to register the prototypes or report found ones if they have been lost. Both sites don't exist anymore, but you can see on the Wayback Machine it has captured both of them. Even though Microsoft's phone is not archived properly, you can imagine the error looked mostly the same, as they even had the same text and purpose. Failed to write to pipe. This refers to the error that can happen when unlocking a bootloader on a Lumia where it will fail to write to a specific pipe/destination on the eMMC. The error usually says failed to write to pipe and then a specific hex code. It can occur during bootloader unlocks and flashing. For Spec A, it can happen randomly in the second phase of the unlock, while for Spec B it can happen if your USB 3 is not compatible with the Lumia and the driver. For flashing, it can happen if you unplug a Lumia while it is in the middle of flashing, obviously causing it not to be able to write to a disconnected device. The error isn't fatal to the device, but can be annoying as you get left with a half-unlocked Lumia or one that isn't unlocked at all. Microsoft Band 1 and 2. The Microsoft Band was Microsoft's attempt at making a smartwatch platform. It would work with the Windows Phone, iOS, and Android via their own Microsoft Help app, not to be confused with MSN Health and Fitness. The first iteration of it was themed around 8.1 and the second was themed around 10, yet both models worked on both OSs. Gold 930 and 830. The gold editions of the 930 and 830 were special edition Lumias that had either a black or white back with a gold trim on the side. Honestly, I think it is a really good looking Lumia, and it can really show how premium Windows Phone can actually be. HTC HD2. The HTC HD2 was a device that supports up until Windows Mobile 6.5 officially, and was rejected for an upgrade to Windows Phone 7 by Microsoft. However, community efforts have led the HD2 to being one of the most variety-supported phone ever. Devs have ported Windows Phone 7 to the HD2, although with some caveats such as no Windows Live services unless you get an activation key from Microsoft or do some other workarounds. It can also run some versions of Android, Firefox OS, Linux, and more. 535 is weak. The 535 is weak statement comes from the fact that its specs are so low end that they will actually crash if you try to do a bootloader unlock. It is crazy stuff because you need to unlock the bootloader to be able to jailbreak 8.1, and if you decide to do an unofficial 10M upgrade, you'll be left on an extremely slow Lumia. But hey, at least you can sideload apps, right? 640 series emergency files are broken. The 640 series emergency files are broken is a big issue within the community, mainly because these are Microsoft's fault for not providing working files or even bothering to fix them with the many of years that they could have. This means that if your 640 series went into an emergency download mode, you would not have a way out unlike other Lumias. This was the case for all 640 series Lumias until late 2024 when the community found working files for a variant of the LTE 640 series. These files could use to recover all LTE 640 series most of the time, but the 3G variants still have no luck to this day as I'm writing a script for this video. Emergency download mode. Emergency download mode, otherwise known as QHSUSB_bulk or QHSUSB_deload from Device Manager, is a mode made for Qualcomm CPUs for emergency recovery of a device. This was used on the Windows phones as they use Qualcomm chips, as you'll find them a lot on Lumias, and they're usually just a couple commands from Thor 2 to recover. Now that WDRT is depreciated, you can't just use that, but if you patch it, you still can. So go ahead and patch it and you can use WDRT to restore from emergency download mode. Thor 2. Thor 2 is a command file that you can use in CMD, which was used to send commands to Lumias for recovery or other stuff. It was included with WDRT and you can find it in the installation folder. Nowadays, it is usually used for recovering Lumias from emergency download mode and switching their mode, and I'm pretty sure that WPI uses it too. Device Portal. The Device Portal is something on Windows 10 Mobile that allows you to remotely install and uninstall apps from your device if you have developer mode turned on. It sounds cool, but it's actually more limiting than it sounds, but yeah, it can be pretty helpful in some cases. Reset Protection. Windows Phone Reset Protection is something that can annoy people who buy Windows Phone secondhand, especially those on Windows 10 Mobile. Back when Windows Phone was supported, it was useful, but also enabled BitLocker to make it so that if your phone got stolen and forced reset, it would need the owner with the Microsoft account tied to the device that will not unlock again. Nowadays, there are workarounds to getting past it. Microsoft Wallet. Microsoft Wallet was an app developed by Microsoft for the Windows Phone 8.0 when it was just called Wallet, and it could hold things like loyalty cards for you to take digitally on your Windows Phone device. It got tap-to-pay support when it was re-released on Windows 10 Mobile, though that functionality was removed in early 2019 when Microsoft began to retire Microsoft Wallet. Lumia Camera Lore and Lumia Imaging Apps. This is yet another that I will combine because Lumia Camera is part of the Lumia Imaging Apps family, but actually has its own section due to it having its own backstory. Lumia Camera, formerly Nokia Camera, was made after Nokia decided to merge two of their existing camera apps, Lumia ProCam and Lumia SmartCam. They had slightly different features and ways of taking photos, but Nokia just put it all into one amazing app where you can tweak your personal preference. There were lots of other Lumia imaging apps, some of them being other interesting ways to use your Lumia's camera, while others were used for editing, sharing, and even social. Unofficial 10M upgrades. Microsoft never officially supported every Windows Phone 8.1 device to update to 10 Mobile, due to hardware requirements not being met and such. But just like any other blocked Windows upgrade, people have found ways to bypass them. This led to people being able to use their Windows phones from 8.1 to 10, with some of them actually having good performance while others suffered. Windows Phone on Mac. A YouTuber by the name of Nobel Tech has actually successfully installed a various Windows Phone OSs on a MacBook of all things. You can see he managed to install 8.0, 8.1, and 10 all on the MacBook using Boot Camp. This is because he used the emulators images, which are actually 32-bit instead of ARM32. I highly recommend you go check out his channel and the videos he makes demonstrating them. Even though there were no drivers for most things, it is very interesting and impressive stuff. Time is the name. The time is the name refers to the most of the Lumia's packaging, where Nokia and Microsoft actually used the graphic of the Lumia to also include its name as the time. You can see this on some examples here, like the 950 having its time as 950, the 930 having its time as 930, and even things like the 1520 manages to get the time because of the 24-hour clock. Cool trick, and I think it's just these tiny details just to show how much Nokia and Microsoft cared about the platform. A charged phone is a happy phone. This is a cute little quote from a message that Microsoft put in case the phone detects you're using a slow charger with the device. It honestly feels nice to see some personality in these small corners of the OS, just like the rest of it, because it shows that they really worked so hard on the platform. These things just don't happen nowadays, sadly. Windows Phone Central. Now called Windows Central, and before that, Windows Mobile Experts, Windows Phone Central is a news source that back then was primarily focused on talking about Windows Phone OS. They made many articles and videos including reviews for devices and apps as well as other Windows Phone news. They really were the to-go people for everything Windows Phone related. They even had a phone and Metro desktop app which read articles, engaged in forums, and listened to their podcast, which still goes on today as of writing. Those apps actually were broken, but again, Miguel fixed them too, so I will make a video on those two patched apps as well. Nowadays, they do mostly Windows/Microsoft news, but also do make other articles about the tech space. I am highly sure that the staff there still miss the Windows Phone platform like the rest of us. Trevor's phone is a Windows phone. We all know Grand Theft Auto and we all know GTA 5, and all of us know the characters, especially Trevor Phillips. In GTA 5, there are 3 protagonists use 3 respective phone platforms: iOS for Michael, Android for Franklin, and Windows Phone for Trevor. Although they are knockoffs, the resemblance is clear, and I think it's cool for such a big game to pay tribute to what was considered a failure of a mobile OS platform even back then. MS-DOS Mobile. MS-DOS Mobile was a nice Easter egg made up by Microsoft which put a light version of MS-DOS on your Windows Phone device. There were fun commands to do, such as open up other apps on your device, call numbers, launch Cortana with a search term, and even open up the camera with the cool custom 80s themed filters to play around and save pictures from. Windows Phone emulators. This refers to the fact that Visual Studio came with some emulators for Windows Phone. Their respective versions from their time frames came with each version of Windows Phone. This is less known by the general public, but is very well known by developers for the platform. Bottom of the iceberg. White 930. The White 930 is a prototype of a 930 that was actually a white color at the front panel of it. We all know the retail 930s all had black fronts regardless of the color of the back, but this one was an experiment and honestly just seems off for some reason. 64GB 1020. Did you know there was actually a 64GB model for the Lumia 1020? Internationally, only 32GB sizes were sold. Without any microSD slot for expansion, users were limited to the 32 gigs, which isn't enough if you use it heavily for raw 41MP photos. These were exclusive to O2 and Vodafone, which makes it a not very well known model of the 1020 and is now kind of a rare or expensive phone. Clippy X Cortana. Did you know that Clippy was added as an Easter egg into Cortana? If you would have asked Cortana if she liked Clippy, she would reply that she does, and then her icon would be changed to Clippy for the rest of the conversation. Not for resale. This text appears on the bottom left of the display as the phone powers on. It is shown on a lot of prototypes, but can also be shown when you bootload or unlock Spec A devices as you flash an engineering SBL3 firmware to the device. Unable to find bootable option. The full error is error. Unable to find bootable option, press any key to shut down. This appears from various causes, the most common ones being the RPMB partitions DBX, which is a secure boot blacklist for the UEFI, is corrupted, or if a device unofficially running 8.1 GDR2 enables reset protection and downgrades again, leading the DBX to still be unchanged from GDR2 and it will not accept anything lower, therefore refusing to boot. Insert Windows installation disk. This error shows up as a Windows 7 style boot error on Windows Phone 8 devices and newer. It seems weird, and it is a bit weird to be honest, but also remember that Windows Phone 8 and newer is closely related to desktop Windows as it is based on the NT kernel 2 and more. This is speculated to be caused by BitLocker screwing something up and now the device cannot access the main OS partition on the phone. Windows RT on Lumia. Similar to the WA project, there were small efforts to install Windows RT on ARM32 based devices. It has been successful for some people and even looks cool, not gonna lie. However, it is very useless as 1. You are running it on such underpowered hardware, and 2. Windows RT does even less than Windows Phone 8.1 nowadays as far as I know. The 930 is/isn't an icon debate. This is something relatively small as it isn't a big deal, but there are some debates in the community whether the 930 should also get the nickname the Lumia icon. The official Lumia icon is the 929, but the 930 is just an international release of the 929, so why not call it the same thing? Microsoft never recognized the 930 as the icon, so it was up to your preference if you wanted to call it one thing or the other. LumiaFirmware.com controversy. This refers to the controversy behind the site LumiaFirmware.com. Back in late 2024, the Microsoft servers for the Windows Device Recovery tool has been taken down, which included the repository of files for Lumias. Lumia firmware was connected to their servers, and so was the Windows Phone internals download tab. But now all these things broke. This caused panic, but the Lumia firmware owner had an archive of everything, so it seemed we were saved. But instead, he took this opportunity to start adding paywalls, blocks, insanely ridiculous captchas, email, phone verification, and more. This caused community outrage. For some people to start creating alternatives and archival projects. The best one I know is LumiaDB. Habanero. The Microsoft Habanero is an engineering board which was used during Windows 10 mobile development. There were 6 total revisions of the Habanero: EB 0.5, EB 1.0, EB 2.0, EB 2.1, and EB 2.2, and the final one with EB 2.3. The EB 0.5 was named Roll instead of Habanero. Most models with the Habanero came with build 9867, but you can technically also run Windows 10 desktop on it as it was ported alongside support for the 950 and 950 XL. Overall, there are 20 unique Habanero builds of Windows 10 Mobile. Groove visualizers. There were some builds of Groove Music which had an equalizer and visualizers. I also already covered a video on this, check the cards, but in short, this relates to Windows Phone because 10 Mobiles had builds of it too. But nobody could ever get it working anymore even with the right files, but hopefully somebody finds out how soon. Windows 10 Mobile build 16.24.1. Windows 10 Mobile build 16.24.1 is the last Redstone 3 build and the last mainline Windows 10 Mobile and Windows Phone build to be compiled as a whole. Redstone 3 in general would have a new shell called C Shell in place of the Splash Shell to have a better Windows 10 desktop feel in the end. This ended up being cancelled and the team moved on to developing Windows Core OS, which also failed. The successor to 10M would have been named Phoenix and be based on Windows Core OS, but Windows Phone ended up dying even before this could be decided on. The build was also not released to the public. Windows 10 Mobile build 15400. This build was the last standalone build of Windows 10 Mobile ever to be made. It was going to port features of Redstone 3 to Windows Phone while they were going to work on Phoenix, which was Redstone 4 based, but that ended up getting cancelled and Windows Phone killed off entirely. This build was not released to the public. Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise Edition. This was a manual update companies pushed if they bought a license to phones to add more company controls to the phones. It included software locks and such to restrict phones to the business's liking. Music Backstop. This is Windows Phone 8.0's music application, except it's a hidden app in Windows Phone 8.1 and 10 Mobile. This means with the use of launchers like the Music Hub tile, you can get the Windows Phone 8.0 Xbox Music experience in 8.1 and 10. We are unsure if this was intentional to be left in the phone or not. Live Lock Screen. This was an app released by Microsoft in 2014 for Windows Phone 8.1 that added new styles and animations to the lock screen, as you can set an app as a lock screen on Windows Phone. This really overtakes iOS 16 and above lock screen customization in my opinion. Xiaomi Mi 4 Windows 10 Mobile. This was an official ROM for the Xiaomi Mi 4 which allowed users to switch from Android to Windows 10 Mobile on the same device. Just use official Xiaomi flashing tool to reflash your phone with the ROM and you'll get Windows 10 Mobile on your Mi 4. Windows Phone 7 number 3. Despite the name, this is actually the earliest known build of Windows Phone 8.0, called Build 9543. The photo shows many tiles, which most include the number 3 in it, even multiple times, and one showing 6. There is also a tile of the IP of the device, probably for debugging. It is unclear why 3 and 6 were chosen as the placeholder for tile notification counts. Z-Apps. Z-Apps and test apps were used for testing stuff on prototypes and internal builds of Windows Phone. The name Z-Apps was never official as it was dubbed by the community. Lumia 850. Codename Honjo, this was supposed to be the Lumia 8X series for the X50 Lumias. This was scrapped alongside the Gulian, which was the 7X variant. But we do have this render of the 850. It is speculated that they were cancelled because the 8X and 7X series of Lumias didn't sell well enough in the past. Fake GSM Network. This is the carrier that is shown in the Windows Phone emulators as a dummy placeholder carrier. Tall and 2x2 tiles. This refers to the technical preview builds of Windows 10 Mobile that incorporated tall tiles and 2x2 tiles as sizes. This could have opened up many possibilities for start screen customization, but was ultimately stripped out and we were left with the same options as before. C Shell. The Seashell was used in the desktop Windows 10, which was planned to be ported to Windows 10 Mobile, which would have incorporated landscape and start browsing, 2x2 tiles, turning off live tiles, and Windows Continuum. It was ultimately scrapped, probably because of the bugs, but I feel they could have pulled it off if they continued developing it, so maybe it was also because of the death of the Windows Phone that came shortly after. Lineage OS for Lumia. This is a project that allows you to install Android 11 on some Lumias. It doesn't have full driver support, but it is just as impressive as a Lumia WA project. It's just a cool side project like Lumia WA is. Dark Water. Paint 3D for 10M. Since UWP allowed one app to run on all Windows 10 based platforms, and all the new system apps in Windows 10 with desktop or UWP, this means that people found an APPX of Paint 3D for Windows 10 Mobile. It does require more powerful devices though, as it is quite resource intensive. Settings applets. Now, this one was right under the nose the whole time. In Windows Phone 8.1 and below, you have the settings app. Seems normal enough. But, did you ever notice that opening a page takes you to a separate app? It's more noticeable when you multitask. This is because the options in the settings app are actually mini applets which don't show up in the apps list, and cannot be uninstalled traditionally, though there are ways to do so. You can also install new ones from the store. Windows Phone 8.1 build 12075. This build of Windows Phone 8.1 was the first to include the Notification Center and Cortana. This Notification Center looks kinda cool to be honest, but what is really interesting about this build is that it has a faulty NTFS driver, which could, and I quote BetaWiki on this, may either wipe the eMMC, corrupt the restrictive files descriptor, and or, if the build bug checked during the boot process, attempt to write garbage data to random disk sectors, including the EFI boot and board support package BSP partitions. Insane stuff. Gigantic Windows Phone. This refers to the 6-story Windows Phone 7 building built in New York back in 2011 to celebrate Windows Phone 7.5, the Spotify app for Windows Phone, and the release of a few new Windows Phone devices. Not only was it beautiful and animated with giant screens, but there were live events such as life-size Plants vs. Zombies in the game tile, a live musical performance by the band Far East Movement in the Zune tile, and even a man proposing to his girlfriend in the Me tile. Imagine getting proposed in a Windows Phone 7 device. Crazy engagement story. 10 Mobile ARM64. This refers to the route Microsoft was going to take the future of Windows 10 Mobile in, which was supposed to upgrade Windows Phone OS from ARM32 to ARM64. But, like all major Windows 10 Mobile decisions, they eventually backtracked and cancelled out the whole thing. The most notable build is 14822. It was extremely unstable and could even crash the system just by opening apps, swiping to the All Apps list, or even just idling. You also can't take screenshots, the search crashes immediately after you open it, and more. There's also a fun trick that you can do by repeatedly toggling the display on and off, which will hard lock the phone and you have to force reboot to fix it. Fun! 2013 950 leak. This refers to the Nokia Lumia 950 leak that happened in 2013, not to be confused with the very real Microsoft Lumia 950 series. At the time, it was very hard to disprove, being something that could have been real or fake with none leading on either side. This might look obviously fake right now, but back in 2011 there was a Lumia 800 leak with a sticker on the start button too, so funky looking Windows 11 logo on the device actually adds credibility to the leak. Lumia Vela. The Lumia Vela, or the planned 435, was going to be a low-end Lumia but with a twist. It was going to have a full screen with an almost bezel-less display. This looks as if Microsoft got their priorities straight with keeping Windows Phone 8.1 going until 2019 and kept making Lumias with color and soul in them. Shame it was a low-end device, but also shame it was cancelled in the favor of this 435. Lumia 1530. The 1530, or codenamed the Nokia Goldfinger, was the budget version of the Nokia McLaren. It had some spec downgrades, but still brought over the 3D gestures features to the table. Lumia 719C. This is a special Chinese variant of a Lumia, which was supposed to be for the 710, except it was the only one with differences in its design, shown in color extending to the front lid. Nobody knows why the phone was cancelled and never released. Microsoft Band 3. The unreleased Band 3 was a small upgrade from the Band 2, with some design changes to make it better function-wise. Nothing really changed aesthetically. It did come with some more sensors than the Band 2 and charges faster, plus it got waterproofing, which it would have been the best band if it released, but it didn't. Possibly because of how the line of products wasn't doing that well, and Satya's business model back then might as well have been that if it didn't go viral immediately, it sucked and had to be discontinued. All Media Zune. The identifier on the packages for the music apps is still Zune Music and Zune Video, which goes to show that Xbox Music and Video is a successor to Zune Music plus Video app, and even Group Music called the sub Zune Music. The Abyss. Tsunagi Windows Phone 7 demo. This is a very obscure flash demo for the Toshiba Tsunagi which demoed Windows Phone 7. Windows Mobile 7. This was supposed to be the successor to Windows Mobile 6, but was eventually cancelled and replaced by Windows Phone 7, probably due to the iPhone changing smartphones. But there are no confirmed builds of it at the time of recording. Windows Phone 7 Swag. This refers to a Reddit post made 5 years ago where somebody who was in contact with a Microsoft employee got some Windows Phone 7 merch such as cool shirts, pens, notebooks, cards, stickers, and more. Cool stuff. They referred to the stuff as cool swag, hence the name Windows Phone 7 swag. Suggestion Box. The Suggestion Box was an app for Windows Phone 7 that allowed users to submit suggestions on what to add to the OS. This was vital back then when Windows Phone was still in its infancy. Touch Develop. Touch Develop was a platform where you could script right on any platform for any platform with a friendly UI. There was a Windows Phone 7 app which was updated until 8.12, but the 8.1 version is lost media. It can target Windows Phone, Windows 8, iOS, Android, and the web. It was shut down in 2019. Windows Phone Lost Media Apps. Windows Phone has a lot of apps that are lost media, mainly Silverlight apps because XAPs are encrypted on the store and the service to send decryption keys is now dead. WinRT apps and you aren't encrypted, so you can just download the APPX from the store even if it's delisted. You just need an identifier and store.rg@guard.net. There is a lot of Windows Phone lost media in general, so if this video does well enough, I might make a separate video for it too. Windows Live Messenger standalone app. The Windows Live Messenger service was integrated into Windows Phone 7, but in China there was a special release of a standalone app which is lost media. Windows Embedded Handheld 8.1. This is a special version of Windows Phone 8.1 devices like data collection terminals. It is a continuation of Windows Embedded Handheld 6.5, which is based on Windows Mobile 6.5. It looks exactly the same as Windows Phone 8.1, except with slightly more specialized features and references to Windows Phone 8.1 being changed to Windows Embedded 8.1 Handheld. Well, we reached the end of the iceberg. I hope you enjoyed this video, so just hit the like button to show it and subscribe for more quality content. Huge thanks to the people on screen who helped with some explanations and some suggestions. Once again, if I missed anything, do let me know in the comments below. Share this video with someone who exists. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.